Welcome in, y'all. Welcome to today's show. We have some major news coming out of the Middle East and out of Russia and Ukraine war. You don't want to miss today's show. I'm telling you, it is going to be a jaw clencher. Let me just say that, no pun intended. But in further ado, before we get started, make sure y'all drop that like button, drop that subscribe button, depending on what platform you are, or follow. But yeah, in further ado, let's get started. One sec, yeah, one sec. What is going on? Hold on one second, y'all. My bad. Let me get this fixed here real quick. Not for sure what's going on. There we go. All right. Now let's get started. 1 minute, y'all. One sec. Let me get this sorted out real quick. All right.
Order to resume attacks on Iran's fast attack boats that invaded the Strait of Hormuz less than 24 hours ago, and now it's being suggested that they may have been laying more sea mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, U.S. forces have raided another major oil tanker alleged to be involved in transporting oil to and from Iranian ports, and right now the ship is being searched by U.S. forces in the Indian Ocean. And we've also seen that U.S. fighter jets and refueling tankers are making the final push into position near Iran as other U.S. military assets move into final position before new attacks begin on Iranian territory. And we also see major news that Poland and France plan to carry out simulated nuclear strikes on Russia and Belarus in newly announced Baltic Sea exercises, which has Russia going absolutely berserk. So we have a lot of news, especially out of Iran, but also big news right now near Russia about those nuclear exercises. So let's jump into our first article, which goes to FITUX News. And right now, this is one of our biggest stories of the day. We are getting word that the U.S. president has made a true social post ordering the U.S. Navy to eliminate any boats placing mines near the Strait of Hormuz. And here's this post right here. I'll just go ahead and read it off. It says, I have ordered the United States Navy to shoot and kill any boat, small boats though they may be, that is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz, and there is to be no hesitation. And additionally, our minesweepers are clearing the strait right now, and I'm hereby ordering that activity to continue, but at a tripled up level, and thank you for your attention to the matter, signed the President. So first of all, this is a pretty big announcement because he is ordering the destruction of fast attack boats, but here's the catch though. The U.S. has been trying to destroy those boats for quite some time, and the reason why they have not been destroyed as of yet is because those boats are stored right off the coast in hardened shelters, literally right off the coast and the beaches. So that's why they have not struck them so far, is because of that reason, and they're very hard to hit because they're in those shelters. So that's part of it, but he's ordering here the United States Navy to have pretty much free range to go in and take out those boats anytime they can spot them, which is a pretty big change. And also apparently the ceasefire talks must be off based on this. But also one other thing he said as well, he said that is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. Now that's an interesting statement. To me, that suggests that our speculation yesterday that all those fast attack boats that had flooded into the Strait of Hormuz from Iran, those might have actually been laying mines, because it seems to be it lines up with the timing that he's mentioning they're putting mines in the strait. So it seems to me that the president is possibly suggesting that that they could have been dropping off more mines yesterday. So that's a big announcement right there, by the way. And also, now the part about the minesweepers, I would push back on that a lot. There is no evidence whatsoever that there's minesweepers in the Strait of Hormuz. He could be being a little bit slick with his speech here. There are apparently mine sweeping or mine detecting drones in the Strait of Hormuz, but we don't know if those are actual mine sweepers or not. So I don't know about that whole thing. Also, he said tripled up level. I think that right there might be a hype talk possibly. But as you can see though right here, a big announcement, also another possible situation about more mines being laid in the Strait of Hormuz. But moving into our next post here, this one's going to go to open source intel. And right here, by the way, in case you didn't watch the stream last night, this is an image, a satellite image from the Sentinel-2 satellite showing all of these Iranian fast attack boats. I mean, look at it. I mean, that's a lot of them going through the Strait of Hormuz right there. And you can see they apparently were heading back to the Iranian coastline that you can see right here. So, I mean, they were moving out. You can see the wake in the satellite images here as well, which shows you how fast they were moving. And these vessels right here were not only harassing and attacking cargo ships in the strait, but according to what I'm interpreting from the president's post, it sounds like they could have also been laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz as well. So we, like I had said, we had speculated that last night, and it appears to be more likely than ever that they were laying mines, according to what we've heard so far. So very disturbing to hear, and that's more proof that they were in the strait, at least last night. So very interesting to see. But moving on to our next one here, we also have a post from World Source News. But in the meantime, though, while the U.S. officials are still pursuing ceasefire talks with Iran, we are seeing that the U.S. military is still locking and loading for the next confrontation with the Iranian military. And we see right here in this post that the aircraft carrier USS George H.W. Bush is expected to arrive in the CENTCOM area of responsibility in a little less than 48 hours. And right here you can see there's an image of that beautiful aircraft carrier, and it is clearly loaded with aircraft, and it's loaded to the brim, as they would say. So this is just a stock image, by the way. I don't think that's actually an image of it coming toward the region. But as you can see, though, that is the aircraft carrier, and it's apparently going to arrive in less than 48 hours. So if something's going to happen, it could be happening in less than 2 or 3 days, possibly. So that's a big movement. But we've also seen another big movement as well. And our next post here goes to OSINT Technical. And we can see right here that apparently 12 U.S. Marine Corps FA-18 Hornets are on their way to the Middle East today as the U.S. continues to build up forces in the region. And seen right here, you can see a whole bunch of them waiting to depart from some islands in the middle of the Atlantic. So let's take a look at this real quick. There you can see it. There's all those FA-18s right there ready to take off. And we believe that they've already taken off toward the region in the Middle East. We believe that's the case. And right here you can see it's a whole bunch of them. So they're apparently moving in, and this suggests final preparations for new strikes on Iran with these fighter jets moving closer to the area. So that's what that suggests. But moving into our next post here, we also have one from OSINT Defender, and we saw here apparently a train of refuelers coming from the same region as those islands where those FA-18s were spotted and moving into the Middle Eastern region. So taking a look right here, you can see there's all those Pegasus refueling aircraft, and we believe that they had the FA-18s in tow from those islands in the Atlantic. So that's what's believed to be the case right now, and I would say that's likely the situation we're looking at. So as you can see, a lot of them moving in, and they're literally just escorting them right to the area to get ready to fight once again. So as they can say, I think they're locked and loaded and they're ready to go for another fight, it looks like. But moving into our next post here from this one's going to go to Fightux News yet again. And we've also seen that at apparently Israel's Ben Gurion Airport, which is in Israel, of course, we're seeing dozens of U.S. refueling aircraft remain stationed there. And you can see it right here. There's a whole bunch of them right there on the runway itself. So I doubt they would be keeping these there unless they were planning on restarting attacks. And also, by the way, it's believed to be that the U.S. is stalling for these ceasefire talks right now, simply waiting for the aircraft carrier to arrive and also other assets like the FA-18s to move into position. That is what's believed to be the case, but of course it's always up for speculation. But I would say I think we have enough in the region to probably continue the war for probably several more months and probably drag it out for years if we wanted to, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. But we do see there a whole bunch of refuelers waiting inside of Israel for the call of duty. But moving into our next one here, this one's going to go to the Department of War. Meanwhile, in the Indian Ocean, it is not going good right now for some of Iran's alleged buddies on their ships. And right now we're hearing that overnight, U.S. forces carried out a maritime interdiction and right of visit boarding of the sanctioned stateless vessel MT Majestic X, transporting oil from Iran, at least according to the Department of War, in the Indian Ocean within the Indo-PACOM area of responsibility. And they say that the Department of War, they will continue global maritime enforcement to disrupt illicit networks and interdict vessels providing material support to Iran wherever they operate. And international waters cannot be used as a shield by sanctioned actors, and the Department of War will continue to deny illicit actors and their vessels freedom of maneuver in the maritime domain. And I do want to make it clear that this is an allegation by the Department of War against this vessel, and it's simply according to their office that this vessel right here is engaged in something that is fishy. So that's their allegation. But let's take a look though at the video. Apparently there's a video of the boarding of the vessel, and it's not believed to have been seized right now. I don't think they've seized it, but they did board it, and they did apparently inspect the vessel and look at it. So they did a good looking at it. Let's just put it that way. But let's take a look at the video though and see what they did on the ship.
Motor vessel Majestic X.
This game, you're not.
We intend to conduct the boarding of your vessel.
So here it is right here, and here's the helicopters moving into the deck right here. You can see there they are putting down some fast ropes. They're going down them. They're boarding the vessel pretty calmly, actually, just simply walking into the ship itself. So looks to be pretty much uneventful for the most part and pretty calm. And also it was calm seas as well. So the whole operation looks very cordial for the most part. So as you can see, the whole thing was textbook. And also there they go. Once again, this is a replay of the video. But as you can see, though, pretty textbook. And we have not learned of anything they found on the vessel or anything like that yet. So we'll have to wait and see if they release any further statements about it. But apparently that was one of the interdictions in the Indian Ocean as of today by U.S. forces. But moving into our next one here, this one's going to go to United 24 Media. And let's go ahead and move into this piece of news right here. And moving out of our news about the Middle East, we have some very big news right now out of Europe. And we were hearing a very big story that has Russia very rattled this morning. And I will admit, this is a pretty big deal. Right now, we're hearing that France and Poland are teaming up to simulate nuclear deterrence exercises near Russian borders and simulated strikes of nuclear weapons on Russian targets. So this is a pretty big deal, obviously. That goes without saying. And this has Russia freaked out. And, this is a pretty big one. So, and we do have some details about this, by the way, right here in the article. You can see it says France and Poland are preparing to conduct joint military exercises on NATO's eastern flank, and the maneuvers will take place over the Baltic Sea and northern Poland, and these drills will simulate the use of French nuclear weapons against targets in Russia and Belarus, according to a Polish media outlet, and key sites near St. Petersburg are among the simulated targets, according to another outlet. Apparently, they're saying the Moscow Times here in the article, and they're saying that the Polish Air Force will focus on long-range recon and also simulated strikes using JASSM-ER cruise missiles. And also, they're saying they're going to be using French Dassault Rafale fighters, which are capable of carrying nuclear-tipped missiles, which will practice elements of nuclear deterrence. So there are no plans right now for the permanent stationing of French nuclear warheads on Polish soil, but it's believed to be that they're going to be practicing possible nuclear strikes against Russia. So this is a pretty big deal, and we'll have to wait and see how Russia responds to this, because I suspect there's going to be a response. And it looks like France and Poland are generally operating on their own accord with this, and they're not using the NATO framework to actually pull this off. So we'll have to see how this goes, but I think Russia is probably going to do something about that, and we'll have to see how that's going to work out. But a very big piece of news with that. But moving into our next one here, this one's going to go to Nexta. And in this post right here, we've also seen some more fear-mongering statements from the Russian Foreign Ministry. They're now accusing European countries of preparing to seize Kaliningrad, and according to one of the deputy foreign ministers inside of Russia, they're claiming that European nations, as part of a joint expeditionary force exercise, are allegedly rehearsing scenarios involving a naval blockade and the capture of the region, and they're criticizing NATO's Baltic Sentry operation, and they're saying the real goal of the operation is to control transport routes and restrict shipments serving Russian interests, but no independent confirmation of the statements have been provided, and once again, it's simple Russian fear-mongering. So, I mean, what can you say? It's the usual stuff from Russia. Also, by the way, NATO is a defensive alliance. It's not an offensive alliance. So this doesn't even line up with NATO's core ideology to do something like this. So once again, the Russians are clearly trying to come up with some propaganda, and they've come up with it yet again. What a shocker with that. But moving into our next one, this one goes to Tom Cotterill. Meanwhile, right now near the English Channel, it seems like Vladimir Putin has sent another warship into the English Channel today to escort a cargo vessel, apparently through the English Channel. And we're being told that apparently the Admiral Grigorovich bodyguarded a trio of Russian ships off the south coast. And apparently, once again, Britain's bluff was called because if you recall, Britain said they were going to start seizing and boarding some of these vessels. And so far, we've seen none of that. And the Russians keep sending more and more of these warships through the region, which suggests to me that Britain's threat was largely a bunch of hot air. And I would assume that's the way that Putin's taking it as well at this point. So once again, we're seeing this happen again. And that's probably a very weak position to take by the British. Not trying to hate on the Brits, by the way, because of course we have some British or Welsh heritage in our blood. But at the same time, though, I will say that they could probably be a little bit more strong-handed with this situation to show Putin that he can't do what he wants. But I think that might be asking for too much at the moment from the looks of it. But moving on to our next post here, this one's going to go to Status 6 military war news. Meanwhile, outside of that news right there, we've also got some more news from the Kremlin Gremlin, and apparently he's explaining away the recent internet outages inside of Russia. And Putin is claiming that the recent outages are related to operational work to prevent apparently attacks on Moscow. And he said notifying the citizens about such outages in advance and on a broader scale could compromise security, and security will always be a priority, Putin added. So also, by the way, we've been hearing that Russia's trying to crack down on Telegram, and they're trying to eliminate it completely and force everybody into the Max Messenger app, which is apparently a state-sponsored application, so that way they can perform surveillance on the citizens. So I really doubt it's about preventing attacks, and it's more like protecting Putin's power. That's what it's really about, and I think Putin's trying to find a way to work his way around this whole narrative right here, and to me it looks like he's trying to simply solidify his power by surveilling people inside of Russia. So that is what it is, as always. But moving into our next one here, this one's going to go to War Monitor, and we've also seen quite an interesting video here showing a Russian service member apparently employing an anti-drone launcher, a physical launcher that is, to intercept a long-range Ukrainian one-way strike drone. And also what's very interesting about this clip right here is apparently it looks like both the Russians and the Ukrainians are starting to revert to using physical drone interceptors to take down each other's drones, which also appears to be what is the most effective way to also use in the Middle East as well, to take down the Iranian Shahed drones that are being fired at U.S. forces. So this appears to be the most widely adopted method that pretty much all countries are starting to use for drone defense, which is literally the most simple method possible, which is literally sending a projectile to take down these incoming drones. So let's take a look and see this Russian version of the system in action right here in the video. So let's take a look. So right there's the Russian holding the interceptor right here. And there it goes, right there toward its target. It's going to physically intercept it in just a second. There it is. It's moving right in toward the drone. And it's making its final move toward it right there. And there it hit right there. So as you can see the guy holding it right there. It's a physical drone that intercepts the incoming drone targets. And like I said, this was pioneered by Ukraine. And now it looks like pretty much every country on the planet is going to start copying it, including Russia. And there they are taking down a drone with it. And as you can see, it worked quite well. So that appears to be the way to go in the future. And we're seeing the Gulf states adopt this method. And we're also seeing even the United States start to adopt this anti-drone warfare technology as well. So that is the future right there, as you're seeing it right here in the video. But moving on from this clip and moving into our next one here, this one's going to go to Max 25. And if you want to see an example of how not to fight drones, this is a perfect example of it right here. We've seen that inside of Russia, they've deployed mobile fire groups in the absence of proper air defense, and they're trying to eliminate the breakthrough of AFU drones, meaning Ukrainian drones, into the Russian rear lines. And just a spoiler alert, it's an absolute clown show that they're doing right here. It seems to be that the Russians don't have any proper air defense around most of their cities and targets, and they're using mobile fire groups with machine guns to try to shoot down these fast-moving drones, which, plot twist, that doesn't really work that well, and you're about to see that in just a minute in the video. But you can see right here a preview. It definitely did not go well, because you don't want to see an explosion picture coming out of your scene if you're trying to take down drones. That's not a good sign that things ended well. But let's take a look at the video, though, and see the absolute chaos and how not to defend against drones featuring the Russian forces. So let's take a look. So as you can see right here, it's a calm night in Ruski land, but you can hear some drones out in the distance. That's trouble. That's flying in right there. Very calm night. Not a creature was stirring out here except for that Ukrainian drone. Oh, they're starting to fire. That's the mobile fire groups, by the way. Oh, but it's definitely picking up a lot. So, not really hitting anything, as you can tell. The Ruskies sound like they could be a little bit plastered. But as you can see right here, they're firing some more. Oh, crap. Oh, my God. Here it goes. They're letting loose. They got the laser beams out. Oh, my God. I don't even know. Oh, my God. So, as you can see, oh, my goodness. Here comes another one. Oh, my goodness. Here it goes. They are letting loose. Holy crap. It's not working too well. Oh, this guy's moaning in the background. This is not going well. So as you can see right there, this is how you do not defend against drones right there. Let me back this up a little bit. You can see right here in the middle of the video, there's the laser beam. There's some fire right here. There, I think they might have actually hit the thing, but the problem is though, it hit right on their position. So I wouldn't say that worked very well. So there's no telling how many Ruskies went down this late night right here. But as you can see though, this is not how you defend against drones. And that's why, you know, Ukraine's winning that situation because they have a much better way of defending against it. But this is the Ruskies' way of the caveman way of hitting these drones, which doesn't work too well. But moving into our next post here, this one's going to go to OSIM Technical. We've also seen that Ukraine made another big win in the morning hours of today. We see that Ukrainian attack drones hit a Russian oil pipeline pumping station in Kostovo overnight, setting it ablaze, and the Gorky oil pumping station apparently maintained pressure on the Sugurt oil pipeline, which helps connect the Russian Siberian oil fields to customers in the farther west. So the customers are apparently angry because it looks like it was hit. And there's the smoke from it right there. And it looks like Ukraine repaired the Druzhba pipeline, which was going toward Hungary. And they apparently repaired that one, and then they set another one ablaze to make up for it. So this is Kostovo apparently right here that was hit. So once again, another pretty bad hit for the Russian oil industry and another big win for Ukraine. And they're pretty much leveling the playing field once again.
So, that's the news for this evening. We will have more updates on this as it comes in. If we have more breaking news or more major news come in before tonight, we will be back on later on. If not, we will be back on tomorrow. I hope y'all have a wonderful and a good night. If not, if we don't see y'all tonight, that is. If we do, then we'll see you tonight. Hopefully y'all tuning in. If y'all tuning in later on, make sure y'all subscribe.